automobiles lifted and flung through the air.
Hey, friends. My name is CK, and I'm the resident DM here at the Disaster Masters podcast. Today, I'm joined by not only a cool person, but also another member of the DM team. Hey, cool person, introduce yourself. Don't laugh at me, Scott.
That's the intro?
Yes, that's the intro. I'm working on it.
Is it just like my name here? You didn't give me guidelines for what to say.
This is going to be the first episode, so we'll find out.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
It's perfect start to the first episode. Just introduce
Where
yourself.
neither of us knows what's going on.
Yeah, literally. So I'm recording these all out of order. So I've already had the conversations with Spencer and Joy, which will be aired later after this episode. But
I'm honored to be the first guest.
yes, you're the first guest, even though you're the third person I'm recording with. And they just went, "Hi, I'm insert name," and I was like, "Great, okay."
All right.
So Scott, introduce yourself.
I'm gonna go a bit more. So my name's Scott. I've been playing D&D for on and off for 6 years now. I'd say I only recently started playing good D&D. So
Valid.
I'll have some interesting stories from some not so good D&D.
Hey, yeah, as long as you're having fun, it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Scott, we've known each other for a bit.
Yeah, probably like.
Yeah.
I mean, we've known about each other for like a year now or so.
Yeah.
It was like right before our siblings' commencement.
Yes. I mean, I knew of the fact that your brother had a younger sibling. So
Yeah.
our older siblings are friends. But so I knew of you. I knew that you existed, but I didn't know your name. My sister has this weird hope that everybody of her friends who has younger siblings around my age, that I'll be friends with them. And sometimes it works, which is really funny.
No, because I sent you the friend request on Facebook because my brother was like, "Hey, so make friends with Caleigh on Facebook. She plays D&D too."
I do. It's true.
Yeah, well, that's what we're here for. We're talking about D&D.
That was the introduction I got from Aaron. That's so funny. No, see, we kind of met each other. We were in each other's presence for the first time at our respective siblings' commencement ceremonies. And we kind of just like waved at each other from across the room. We did that like stupid cool guy nod thing.
Yeah.
We were like, "Cool, you exist." And then you ignored me for the first 3 weeks of school.
Okay. So
well, no, first you friended me on Facebook, and then there was like the games night in orientation week, and I saw you because you were in that same like beanie that you were in your Facebook profile photo. So I was like, "Oh, there's the guy."
That was before I outgrew beanies.
Yeah.
Before I became cultured and actually cared about my hair.
Fair. But I was like, "Oh, hey, there's the guy. I know him." And then you just walked right past me, and I was like, "Okay."
So
valid, I guess.
I'm trying to remember. Basically, I'm really awkward with people that I sort of know, but like
That's fair.
haven't actually interacted with. Once I interact with you, we're fine. We're dandy. But it's that first interaction that we need to get over.
Yes.
I'm like, how do I introduce myself here? Because like we're kind of introduced.
Yeah. Like
But,
we
like-
knew each other, but we didn't know each other.
It's getting that first conversation. After that, it's fine.
Yeah. Well, we
But
had a
it's also,
couple like little awkward blow-bys where we would like see each other, say like a couple words, acknowledge each other, and then just like part ways.
And like I also don't know how to interact with people. Like you know how at SJ they're in Sweeney, there's like that tight hall, and like I see somebody coming down, I'll just pull out my phone because I don't know like when do I make eye contact, when do I say hello? Because
Yeah.
I overthink these things.
Yes.
You can
Context
tell
of
why
that.
I do great in D&D.
Yeah, valid. Context of that acronym we just threw out. SJ stands for St. Jerome's University, and it is the college that we both currently attend at the University of Waterloo. This could all get cut out if I want. It's fine.
Don't. You're a coward.
The magic of editing. Now, I just know myself, and probably right here is going to be a note from like editing Caleigh just calling us dicks. Editing Caleigh here. Past Caleigh, you are in fact correct. There was a lot to edit out this episode. What did I edit out? You guys will never know. You're just going to have to live with the mystery unless I re-release it at some point. But until then, back to regularly scheduled program. Anyways, if you heard that note, then I actually did that. And if you didn't hear that note, whoops, here we are. Anyways, so Scott, you play D&D. Yeah.
What a fantastic observation.
Yeah. Hey, it's my opener. It's fine. You laughed at my intro, so we're going with lame openers now too. Like I said, first episode. It's fine. So you not only play D&D, but you also DM.
Yes.
Which
On and off.
Yeah, on and off. So you've DM'd on and off for a little while, right?
Yeah. Probably in grade 11 is when I dragged my friends into playing D&D with me.
Nice.
Maybe might have been grade 10.
Yeah.
So
that's a while.
Yeah, it's however long.
Yeah, who knows? It's fine. I don't want to do math right now. That's for tomorrow's game. It's fine. So Scott also currently plays in the long campaign I'm DMing right now, and you're also taking place in the plethora of summer one-shots that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
We've already played one. We have another one coming up soonish. We're going to talk about your character from the All Evil one-shot, because that's a fun one.
That was a fantastic character.
Yeah, he was a fun one. You make fun characters, Scott. With DMing for you, like I'm fairly new to DMing, right? Not like super new. I've been DMing roughly for like about a year, because I DM'd a little bit before the other campaign. Yeah. Which I've been DMing kind of on and off for about a year. Most of it was through online stuff, because my friends before SJ weren't quite geeky enough to actually let me drag them into playing D&D with me. Yeah, right? But what are some things you find challenging about D&D, other than that one particular time that I know of where you DM'd for a group of our friends and you were just completely unprepared for the absolute chaos they bring?
DMing, what inspired me to DM is Matthew Mercer. And see, people talk about people talk about the Matthew Mercer effect, where like players expect the DM to be like really good, amazing voices, like amazing story. I feel like some DMs have the opposite effect, where they expect their players to be very serious and like into the game and creating detailed, fantastic characters. As a starter DM, I had that expectation. That quickly went away as I played with a bunch of murder hobos, and there's a very steep learning curve to DMing as well.
Yes, there is. Can confirm.
And I tried to run Lost Minds a couple times, but like those groups were purely because scheduling. But then like, it's a lot of effort to do homebrew.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah. And like I like writing, so I thought it'd be easy, but like then you have to do like the balancing, and you want to like weave in every character's backstory. So it's a
different kind of writing.
So
like, I find writing for DMing and writing like for a D&D is very different than writing like short stories or novels. I mean, you know me, I wrote a lot for theater before in like back in high school and stuff.
The one thing that like is also really difficult is balancing railroading and freedom of the players, because too much freedom and there's literally zero direction. But too much railroading is just not fun. And like that's not what D&D is about. No. So like trying to find that healthy balance is difficult. And like on a more personal level, or like more on a microscopic level for the DMs, it's also being very critical of yourself. Like, oh, is this story good? Are they having fun? That's why I kind of stepped away from DMing, because it's a lot of responsibility. And I have more fun as a player as it is. As much as I like want to play D&D with some groups, and like the only way you can is through DMing. Sometimes you have to step up, and like with my other big group during the school year, we were doing like bi-weekly. So in the weeks between the main campaign, we do one shots, and like DMing a one shot where like I actually got a very serious group was actually more stressful. Because like then it feels like you have to fulfill their wants
and their expectations and stuff.
As people who like are very serious into D&D, and like I was running a different module. I'm not sure if you've heard of Humblewood.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm running Humblewood. So like I'm learning.
For anybody who doesn't know Humblewood, first of all, Google it. The art is phenomenal, but also very quick, like TLDR, magical, slightly humanoid animals in fun Magic Forest campaigns.
So I'm trying
very quick.
I don't have the whole module memorized. So like somebody says, oh, I'm going to use this spell. I'm what?
We're like, whoop, let me Google that real quick. Quick Googling skills is every DM's best friend.
Yes.
Definitely.
Or like memorizing the handbook. The DM needs to fully read the book.
Definitely.
I wouldn't say fully read the handbook, but like understand what's going on.
As long as you kind of understand how actual gameplay works and the rules and stuff, you'll probably be fine. We'll talk.
You won't end up on Reddit for D&D horror stories.
Seriously. I think I mentioned this in some of the episodes that'll come out later, but there's some fun D&D resources on Reddit. Don't like go deep diving, but if you just Google some like questions you have about D&D or D&D horror stories or best D&D moments, like you can find some really fun Reddit threads out there, which is some fun reading if you're new to D&D or you're just interested in it or whatever. So you've played a bunch, clearly.
Yes.
You've also played in a couple of, well, you're in the campaign with me right now, and then you're playing the one-shot. So what are some of your favorite campaigns you've played or like moments from campaigns that have like really stuck out to you as a more experienced D&D player? Like, it doesn't have to be just my stuff. It can also be other ones, because I've heard some fun stories from your other campaigns, and they are very entertaining.
Overall campaigns, I think like the big group that I'm playing with like my sibling is probably one of the best stories I've played in. For best stories, there's a lot of stories. I could just go on and on about good D&D stories, horror stories. I think one of my favorites is when I was like first DMing for my friends back in like grade 10 or grade 11. I think there was like this ship coming in. I can't remember the entire details of the story, but they need to get out to a ship. It could have been going in, could have been coming out. They're on the docks and they want to get on this ship. So I never they're a bunch of murder hobos, right? And I'll tell a story about that when I was playing with them.
Yeah, one more context clue. The murder hobos is just an affectionate term for D&D players who solve most of their problems by killing people. In game, of course, not in real life. Don't murder people. Just that's not a good way to continue playing D&D.
So
anyways, continue.
Basically, they want to get on the boat, and how they do it is they steal a crate from the docks, as one does.
Yes, as one does.
They decide to blast the gnome of the party on this crate using Thunderwave. And I'm like, I'm not sure if it, like, part of me is like, do I just want the crate to shatter? But I decide, you know what? This is the first time they're actually trying to do something ingenious. Yeah. So like, I'll let him have it. And they were so proud of figuring out to use Thunderwave and just launch somebody.
That's very fun.
Then fast forward a few months later, one of the players decides they want to take over for DM, one of our players' older brothers. So we're playing in a new campaign now. He's done his own story. And we are going to this elven village. And there's a bridge in the way. I'm not with them at this time. I'm like the one not murder hobo player.
Yes, of course.
But they decide there's like 3 of them. And there's this one guy, he's asking for a 1 gold bridge fee.
Yeah.
They're not going to pay that 1 gold.
No, of course. The classic like bridge troll toll where it's like...
it's just a regular guy.
I know. It's more just like an archetype. But they're not paying that. That's not what murder hobos do.
It takes them 3 rounds to kill this guy.
They
set his body on fire and dump him in the river.
That's real murder hobo-y. Yeah. Oh, man.
That's for over 3 gold.
Yeah.
So,
and for context, in D&D world, 3 gold is like $3. Like, it's not a lot.
They also kept his hammer as a memento for their murder.
Spoils
as
of
one
war.
does.
Okay. Wow.
There was another group I joined with more high school friends. And to like get acquainted with the group, he decided to run a one-shot of like fantasy high school party goers. It was actually a really good campaign.
Interesting. Yeah,
basically, we were given archetypes. I was like this. I was, of course, given the edgy rogue.
Of course.
The edgy rogue loner. There's a bunch of stories, but the one thing that I had to fight like a golden bathrobe to steal it from the dad.
That is definitely unique, and I like it. One of the things I love about D&D is just how flexible it is. Like, Joy is writing us one-shot based entirely on Greco-Roman mythology that takes place in, like, actual semi-historically accurate worlds, and, like, that's going to be really fun, or you can do stuff like that, or, like, there's just so many different ways you can do it, and it's so much fun that way. But back to your story.
It was just the fact that I got to fight a golden bathrobe that, like,
that's
I'm pretty sure was a monk class. Like, I think it was actually like a character, and he classed it as like a monk.
Like, he made like a character sheet for this bathrobe?
Yeah, for this golden bathrobe, and I'm pretty sure it was hilarious. A monk. It was definitely hilarious. The rest of the campaign was kind of ruined by more players than the DM. The DM put a lot of heart and soul into it. Just the players were really weird dudes.
Yeah, that happens sometimes. You one of the things I found with D&D, especially like when you play with people you don't know as much, is that you either find out that they're like a lot goofier or a lot more serious than they generally present themselves to be, or like a lot more chaotic or whatever, or you find out that they have kind of this like these weird issues or biases or like ideas, and then because they're put in, a lot of the time D&D is played in like a pseudo fantasy medieval world, right? So you put them in that world and it's like, oh, suddenly they hate women. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, it was
like,
definitely uncomfortable at times.
Yeah, I bet. So one of my favorite D&D memories of you, Scott, is how I started DMing for our friends. Because we had a group of friends. A couple of them are members of the DM team here at Disaster Masters Podcast. A couple of them aren't. Some of them will be on to talk about the old long campaign later on. But you DM'd for them the first time when they first wanted to start playing D&D.
One session.
One session.
One session, the introduction to Lost Mines of Phandelver.
Yes. One session. And then I asked I mentioned that I was wanting to DM like real people and not online people.
Yeah.
Not that friends online are any less valid, but like it's a little harder to DM online, especially when you don't necessarily know your players very well. Yeah. And I mentioned to them that I was like, I asked if they would be willing to let me DM for them. And they were like, yeah, I mean, we're playing with Scott right now, but like, we're not sure how long that's going to last. And then I talked specifically to Joy about it, who, like I said, is one of the members of the DM team here. And she's going to be on in an episode soon. And she was like, oh no, Scott's definitely done. And then I saw you in the Buttery that night. In context, the Buttery was the student kitchen in our residence at school. And you asked me, you're like, were you thinking about DMing for them? And I was like, yeah, is that okay? And you were like, please take them off my hands. And you just looked so panicked and slightly defeated. Like, oh my God, I actually have an out. Okay, take it.
Yeah.
And I believe you were also shoving macaroni into your face at the time.
That's pretty likely considering the Buttery.
Scott, have you ever considered that as at least with dinner times, you're a hobbit because you ate like regular dinner and then you went to the Buttery as well for later dinner?
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing. I just was like, is that something you ever considered? Do you eat every 3 hours, Scott?
I mean, I snack, but I don't really count that as like second breakfast. Oh, that was a terrible Hobbit accent.
That's okay.
I've disgraced Billy Boyd.
That's okay. At some point later on, I'm going to have an episode with a bunch of people and we're all just going to talk about Lord of the Rings.
Oh, that sounds like a fantastic time.
Yeah, you're going to be one of these people. I hope you know.
Wonderful.
Yes. Anyways, yeah. So you're part of the current long campaign I'm running. You've played exactly one session with us.
Yes.
As of this recording. And by the time this goes up, probably a lot more than that. But you're playing tomorrow as well. Listen, I don't know how long it's going to take me to edit these. So you've played... Wow. Words. I'm great at this. Clearly. It's also like 9 p.m. when we're filming this. Actually, what time is it? Oh, it's 9:48. Cool. Context. I usually record at like 10 a.m.
I don't wake up until well after 10 a.m.
Valid. I mean, today I slept in, but not the point. Anyways, so you've played exactly one session in the current long campaign. Yeah. And your character is very fun. You're a fun transporty boy.
I am a teleporty boy.
Teleporty boy. I always say transport by accident, but it's teleport. Tell us, well, you're talking to me, but tell the people a little bit more about your fun character. His name is Caliban.
Yes. So back in grade 12 during Writer's Craft, whenever I got really bored of writing for the classes, I would write just D&D characters. I just have
full backstory. Okay.
No, because basically that factors into like how this character came about. And like I'm creating very like stereotypical, like, oh, lawful paladin, chaotic rogue, blah, blah, blah. So I wanted to spice things up a bit more, and now I've got like a turtle bard who inspires people by telling stories back in the old day. But
love that. Your voice is also
decided to start making characters. Thank you. But I decided to start making characters based off like class combinations, and that's how like my other character in the main campaign came about, because I wanted to play a drow, and I was like, what goes with the drow? Because drow have disadvantage in the sunlight, so like combat is really off the table. So that removes pretty much every class except for bard. It's
true. Are you playing a drow bard? You never told me that your bard was a drow.
It is fantastic. Everybody hates me.
Hey man, as long as you're having fun.
I'm having a great time.
I do still love, every time you tell me you're playing a bard, I'm reminded that you borrowed my book that is called A Dragon Walks Into a Bar, and it is a book of 300 plus bad jokes, one-liners, and quote-unquote zingers based on RPG games and medieval history, and that is still infinitely amusing to me. Anyways, back to Caliban.
So at this time, Unearthed Arcana was coming out with like all the new subclass options. and I saw her. I didn't at this time. I didn't really care for the ranger. I thought it was just like a worse version of druid or
A lot
fighter.
of people feel that way.
Well, now with Unearthed Arcana, like revised ranger, it's
Yeah.
actually really good, and I still despise the druid.
Fair.
But
Don't let Abby hear you say that. Abby loves druids.
yeah, well,
She will fight you.
I have a lot of problems with druid as a class, but that's beside the point right now.
Maybe I'll have you and Abby on at the same time, and you can hash out druid versus not druid. That could be a fun episode. Anyways, keep going.
So I saw Horizon Walker, and the whole concept is like teleporting between realms and like blinking. And around the same, I had learned about the Eladrin, which is basically just the Feywild elves that can teleport.
Yes.
So I'm like, this race can teleport, and this class can teleport. Put it together, and you have just a lot of teleports.
So much teleporting.
So I kind of wrote a character around that, and like when you said, hey, it's a bit less serious of a campaign, cool, I'll play a little less serious of character, tweaked Caliban, and this is how we got who we have today, of a very teleporty, uncharismatic boy.
Yes, he is not particularly charismatic, though I do like what you've done with his lack of charisma. Because most people, when they do lack of charisma, they're just like really awkward or whatever. But you're like, you're awkward, but you're awkward and like a little bit of a dick.
Listen, I consider assholes to be low charisma.
No, valid. I would agree. Yeah, if there are any people who self-classify as assholes listening to this podcast, your charisma's in like -2, bud. Anyways.
It's definitely an adjustment from having 18 charisma.
Yes, as a bard. Yeah, but I enjoy Caliban.
Bard's a fantastic class and is a lot of fun.
Bard is a fantastic class. If you ever need a really good kind of like pseudo beginner character for D&D, but you still want it to be a really fun class, just go with Bard, because there's so many fun race class combinations you can do with Bard, and like
Drow.
Like Drow, or like I forever laugh at that meme that's a necromancer bard and then it's the necro dancer, which is a terrible pun, but it makes me laugh.
Yeah, like
So-
I wouldn't consider Bard to be like the best introductory spellcaster. For
No.
that, Druid might actually be viable.
Yeah, but
or
if
like
you have like
Warlock.
a little bit more experience, but you don't have a ton of experience, like Bard's a very fun class.
But in the end, like, doesn't matter how much experience you have. You want to play
Yeah.
Bard, play Bard.
Yeah, that's
Just
one of the fun things
spellcasters are
about-
really hard to.
Yeah, there's a lot
be
more
the
to
first
navigate
class.
with spellcasters, because like if you're just playing a rogue or something like that, it's kind of just like, okay, what can you do? And then with spellcasters, it's also like, here's all this stuff you also know.
I'm still figuring it out. Like, how many spells do I learn this level?
Yeah, exactly.
I think I got it wrong, so I'm gonna have to probably delete a few spells.
That's okay. We can figure it out. But yeah, so you've played one session, and I like Caliban a lot so far. This world, the long campaign, you know a little bit about it. Not a ton, because you've only played one session. It's very homebrewed.
Yes.
Yes, it's very homebrewed. It's a little funky, but that's okay. I've probably written like twice or 3 times as much lore for this campaign as I have with any other campaign I've DM'd.
Mhm.
And it's purely because A, it just adds so much to this particular campaign, but also B, because I have players I know who will like appreciate it.
Mhm.
Like 80% of the players in this campaign either are currently or have been DMs at some point.
Yeah.
Fun fact. Or they know enough to be DMs at Abby. Abby knows everything. We're going to have Abby on very soon. Anyways, so yeah, like I said, you don't know a ton about the current long campaign because you are newish to it.
Yeah.
But what's some stuff so far that you are either enjoying or you want to complain about and like super at me? Just feel free.
It's a bit hard to do combat without a battle mat. It's like my
I mean,
biggest complaint.
fair, but we are also playing entirely over Zoom.
Yeah,
And
That's fair.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
Roll
this-
20 exists.
Also fair, but like deal with it.
Hasn't impeded combat for me, so
Yeah.
it's more just like a personal preference of like being able to see.
Yeah, which is fair.
But no, like I haven't had many complaints because it's really hard to say what you like or don't like based off one session.
Yeah, it's fair. And you
Um,
did join at a very particular session.
Yes,
Yes.
so like it's hard for me to say, oh, because I don't know how the rest of this is going to play out.
Mhm. It'll be fun.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if the
I hope.
magic, I don't know how the magic fire is going to play in from before, but
You'll find out.
yeah, no, it's too early to say.
That's fair.
Also known as like I'm going to save my skin from like
So I have a rule. I don't know if we've ever gone over like my personal rules as a DM, like not table rules, but just like my personal rules. I try really hard not to kill off characters. Like if it happens in combat, it happens, but like I'm never going to purposely kill off somebody's character unless they have to leave and they tell me specifically they're not coming back.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons you were able to join this campaign is because we did have a player leave. Actually added like 2.5 players to this campaign with the loss of 1, but that's a whole other story. I didn't kill off her character.
Yeah.
She's just off on some unexplained singular side quest. Ooh, don't knock over your iced tea, Caleigh. That would be bad. I am a little bit of a klutz. You know this about me, Scott.
Yes.
This is something anybody who's listening to this can now find out. Anyways, yeah, I try not to kill off characters unless like absolutely necessary. If it's something I talk about with the player beforehand, because I don't know, maybe you make a character and then halfway through you're like, I'm not really driving with this character with this campaign. I have a better idea. Can we kill off the first one for dramatic effect and bring in the new guy? And it's like, sure, we can figure that out. But other than that, so like even if you totally roast me on my podcast, I'm not going to just kill off Caliban.
I had this running joke when I was DMing my friends. It's like if ever they mess with me at school, I'm like, your character dies next session.
Yeah, that is very...
It never had any weight to it. I'm not just going to call somebody out of vendetta. Some DMs do that, and they're awful.
Yeah, DM tip, because we're going to install that now whenever we're talking about D&D. Sometimes we'll pepper in fun DM tips. So yeah. DM tip, this is going to be the first DM tip on air. Just don't be a dick to your players.
Yeah.
Like you can't back. Yeah, and like you can't play D&D without your players. It's like it's all well and fine if you have the whole campaign written, but also as soon as you don't have players, that campaign is going to rot in your Google Drive. I know for a fact there's DMs out there that treat it like DM versus players. That's not what you're trying to do. You're trying to build a collective story. The DM just happens to be like God. If you want to abuse the powers of God, go ahead. You're just not going to have a fun story to build. Yeah, exactly. But also, like, if you're, especially with homebrews and stuff, it's like you are playing also. Just because you're DMing doesn't mean you're not still a player. So it's just like, don't be a dick to your players because they will be dicks back. But also, it's just more fun if it's collaborative and you're all working together and having fun. Yeah. So yeah, that's the first DM tip on air. Great. Woo. So moving on to some stuff that's a little less D&D centric. You mentioned before, and I know this about you, that you do also like all kinds of writing, not just D&D based. So what kind of writing do you mainly spend time doing? Like, do you write novels, short stories, scripts? What's up? Well, that sounded so aggressive. I apologize.
Well, it's a good question. One that I can't particularly. Why, thank you. It's like, oh, what do you write? Well, I write the beginning of stories and then I stop.
That's a mood, man.
I think the only time I ever truly finished a story from like what I had planned originally was like 35,000 words. That was back in like grade 8. Wow. It's not a good story. If I went back and read it, I'd want to set it on fire, even though it's on my Google Drive. But
don't set your laptop on fire, Scott.
I don't plan on it. It's a very expensive laptop, and I basically need to do it. I need it for like all of my hobbies.
Fair. You can't play D&D if you don't have a computer. Like you can normally, but we are in the middle of a global pandemic, so it'd be
very hard to get a new one.
Yes, and we are safe, responsible humans playing D&D while still observing social distance.
Yes. Except when we go to protests, but
we're also going to protest safely because human rights are important, but also don't die of plague.
Yes, I don't plan on dying to plague.
Good. You have to appear again on this podcast, Scott. You're not allowed to die of plague.
That is my one value as a human being to you. That's not what we're here to talk about. No. Anyways, what do I write?
Yes, what do you write?
I mostly write fiction, mostly like fantasy, mostly inspired by D and like Lord of the Rings, all that. But right now, my main story is like a cross between sci-fi fantasy.
Fun.
It's a lot of fun. I need to get the words on the page whenever I'm writing. It's like 1 hour before bed at like 1 a.m. It's not my best writing. I probably need to delete it all.
That's okay. It's okay. If I sent you some of the writing that I did in my like terrible insomnia times, you'd be like, Caleigh, this is just words.
Yeah.
But I kept it because it's still like good ideas and stuff. Mostly it's just a lot of stream of consciousness style ideas. It's like, okay, 17-year-old Caleigh, this makes no sense, but thank you for the effort.
Also, as much as like everybody does poetry, sometimes you just got to get that shit out.
Yeah. Poetry's fun too because sometimes it can, like, obviously for just nice kind of, I was about to say lethargic. That's not the right word. Cathartic purposes. But stop laughing at me, Scott. Anyways, but it's also nice because poetry doesn't like it's not a novel and it's not a short story or a
There's zero
D&D
commitment.
campaign. Yeah, it's like cool. I'm gonna write my feelings down or this fun metaphor I thought of, and then I'm done and I can go to sleep.
Yeah, most of the poetry that I write ends up getting deleted.
That's okay.
Yeah, no, like the fantastic thing about writing is that nobody has to see it.
Yeah.
Except back in like when people first found out in like grade 10 that I like really enjoyed writing, everybody was like, "Hey Scott, can I see it?" It was
Yeah.
the worst thing because
That's
every
a-
day
yeah,
people were
that's a
just
thing.
asking. And eventually you cave and you're like, "Fine, you can see it." And
Yeah.
then they just don't read it.
Yeah. Either they don't read it or they read it and they don't
Make fun of you?
realize that that it's like a draft or just the beginning or whatever.
That happened too.
Yeah. And it's like not the best time.
Yeah,
I also do a lot of writing, you know that. Mostly the writing I did in high school was theater based. Plays are fun because they're also kind of less commitment than like a short story or a novel. It's kind of just like, here's people talking. The rest you can figure out later.
Yeah. For writer's craft, we actually had to like write a script for the drama class for like their final summatives.
That's
Mine was
fun.
not selected.
Oh, no.
I love the concept. The execution was poor.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those where like you have the idea like close to the due date and just get the words on the page. You don't care after the fact. Except the drama teacher was vicious.
As drama teachers often are.
My second draft was a lot better and very different from the first draft. But like writing plays is fun. Not exactly my thing. I also had to like write scripts for Comtech or like it was a movie making class, right?
Yeah.
I learned something in writer's craft, which is like never go with your first 5 ideas. Just write 5 ideas.
Yeah.
Probably toss them. I mean, maybe you'll have like an amazing first few ideas, but like,
but like unless it's amazing, just like get all the like brain vomit ideas out for lack of a better term and then keep going.
You usually get the best ideas after like 5, right?
Yeah.
I wish I knew that for Comtech, but I had already been in my final summative.
Oh,
and
no.
I don't think my final summit was like the worst thing I ever did. But the thing with Comtech for me, like I had ideas that like could have been good, but I did not have the resources to execute them.
Yeah.
So
which
like
is valid.
They didn't really turn out well. I still got like high 80s in the class, but like I could have been in 90s. So they're not a DM tip, but a writer tip for all of you out there.
Oh, we're doing writer tip now.
Like,
writer's tip now too.
Just a bit.
That's okay. We can. So now we have DM tips and writer's tips. Go for it. What's your writer's
don't go
tip?
with don't go with your first 5 ideas, but like always write down more than 5 ideas.
Yeah.
Unless you'll have like that eureka moment in the shower and like you really want to execute that, go for it. Like if you think your first ideas.
Yeah. And cherish those eureka moments in the shower.
Don't like just throw out the ideas. You might be able to like rework them or things like that. It's just if you go with that first idea, you might leave behind something else. Or you might just do a infinitely worse project than you could have if you had been more patient.
Fair enough. So here's a fun but also dumb interview style question. I like to ask these every so often. If you could write a story about anything, like any genre, any medium, with like no bars of creativity or writer's block or actually having to write stuff down, like just anything, what would it be about?
My dream project, like if I make it big, this is the thing that I'd gun to do.
Okay.
A Calvin and Hobbes movie.
Okay.
In the original like art style.
Yeah.
Like it's animated in the original art style.
Fun.
Calvin and Hobbes is part of like who I am. We had like the full collection, like 3 big tomes in my house. I read through it all in like a week. I'd reread it over and over again. And just like Calvin and Hobbes is just such a timeless story. It's just imaginative, kind of more intelligent than he really should be, but that's just so he can get the comedy across. The writer can get the comedy across.
Yeah.
But like, there's just something so pure about Calvin and Hobbes. Is like, you know how old comics half the time are like they're kind of sketchy. Like, do they hold up in modern times? Calvin and Hobbes, I'm pretty sure does. Like, it doesn't really talk about like. There's no real like race jokes or
It's just kind of like a nice fun time.
It's just a kid wondering why the world is the way it is and going on magical adventures.
That's great.
Calvin and Hobbes movie would be like a dream for me.
I love that that's your dream project. I
thought about this a lot this year and like last year.
Yeah, no, that's great though. That's fantastic. I think
there's like a bunch of other dream jobs. Like I love Red Robin from Batman. I know you said you don't really like DC, but like
no, I don't mind DC.
Tim Drake is the Robin that I think is the most ignored.
Yeah.
out of like
I'd
all
agree.
of them. And like people would be like, "Oh, Tim Drake sucks. Dick Grayson." If you like Dick Grayson, like cool.
Yeah. It's like just enjoy who you enjoy and don't drag down other
Mhm.
characters. Just like, yeah.
I'd love to do a Tim Drake like comic book run. He had his last one in like 2009,
Yeah.
and it was a really good run. But like you look at the Robins nowadays, and like
Yeah.
Dick Grayson has his own run, but like right now it's butchered because he's like Rick Grayson right now. And then you got Red Hood and the Outlaws. Jason Todd has his own, like it's not a solo run, but it's basically just about Jason Todd, and the other Outlaws are side characters.
Yeah.
Somebody would probably kill me for saying that, but
that's okay.
Then
this is just a fun, goofy podcast.
Yeah.
There's going to be no murder, no death threats. If we get death threats, it'll
dude, gotta get viewers first.
Yeah, valid. Yeah, we'll get there. Who knows?
And then like Damian Wayne has like Batman and Robin, Teen Titans.
Yeah.
He's in a few runs right now. And I know like, yeah, Red Robin is in Young Justice right now, but having him have a solo run would be fantastic.
Yeah, that's fair. I wish I was more into comics than I am. I used to be really into them, and then I just kind of didn't have time.
It's a big commitment. Like there's a lot of books coming out nowadays, and like it's pretty pricey.
Yeah, and even for a while, like I was just so, like I said, I was a theater kid. I was in everything in high school, but like I like didn't even have time to read books. Like I barely had time to read for class. But feel free to laugh.
Imagine reading your books for class.
Hey man.
I didn't really read for English starting like grade 11. I read Macbeth because Macbeth goes hard. But like Gatsby, I'd already read that for like summer school before I broke my bones.
Yes, that's valid. For anybody who has
that doesn't need the side note.
No, but yeah, the side note I am going to say is for anybody who has opinions on Shakespeare, Scott and I both agree that Macbeth is the best play. Feel free to at us. We will argue this.
Like if you argue like Hamlet or Othello, like actually, well, I don't think there's like a wrong opinion.
No, there isn't. It's more just, it's not really arguments. It's spirited discussions.
We'll say that. We'll say that.
Yeah, we'll go with that. It's fine. Shakespeare, I enjoy Shakespeare a lot. Like one of the reasons why I'm studying in university the way I'm studying is because I like learning about like lots of different stuff and just being able to kind of take classes about whatever I want. And I've always liked Shakespeare a lot. And also Shakespeare was a weird dude. If you don't know why Shakespeare was weird, just Google it. Just go on that deep dive. It's a fun one, I promise. So I have a question for you because I'm legitimately curious and I ask a lot of my friends who are into writing this, like, why do you write? Like, what do you like about writing? Because everybody has a different answer. And I know it's kind of a little bit of a complicated question, but it's so interesting to hear why people do what they do.
I don't think there's a specific like answers to why I can do, like there's just stories that I want to tell, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't think I can really explain why or like I can't really verbally tell my friends about some story I have in my head. No, I got to write that.
Fair enough.
But like part of me just wants to write for the rest of my life. Or like, yeah, I want to be a published author. So does everybody else who writes. I don't know why I started in the first place though. Went back in like grade 2 when I was doing little comic books.
Flip books?
Yeah, like
love a good.
That was more when I was into drawing more than writing. They just happened to go together. I think it just slowly transitioned into writing. Fair. Drawing kind of got left by the wayside back in like grade 6, I think. Do I write a lot nowadays? Not as much as I should.
But you're also potentially double majoring in university and like you're busy.
I like to joke to myself. Back in grade 7 or 8, I promised my English teachers, because I loved my English teachers. Yes. They actually like believed in me when most of my teachers
didn't. Good. That wasn't meant to be sarcastic. I'm sorry if it did. Yeah. I'm legitimately glad.
Like I wasn't exactly the best student, but English was like what I was really good at. So I promised them like, oh, I'll have a book for you finished by graduation. And then grade 8 graduation passed and I didn't have something done. And high school graduation passed and I didn't have anything done. I'm pretty sure my undergrad is going to pass and I won't have anything done. But maybe by the time I finish my master's, because I plan on pursuing a master's right now, maybe then I'll have something done.
I believe in you. I mean, I want to read it, so yeah.
I have like a full plot. I just need to get the words on the page. Like, I'm pretty self-critical about my writing.
Yeah.
I mean, like as much as every writer is.
Yeah.
Everybody looks at me like, wow, this is shit. So at one point, I just need to get over it. Just be like,
yeah. I like to say, and like I was reading, I don't remember what it was. This was so long ago. Back when I was writing plays and stuff, and one of the hard things about writing plays is that writing dialogue is very different from like speaking the dialogue.
Mhm.
Because you'll write something and you're like, that's a brilliant line. And then you say it out loud and you're like, oh.
Always say your
ugh.
dialogue out loud.
Yeah, definitely. Writing tip, always say your dialogue out loud.
One
But
thing I love about writing
Yeah.
is I do a lot of action for mine. Like
yeah,
mine's about a thief, right? So I used to just write out action, like reading it back, like it doesn't make sense. So
Yeah.
what I've begun to do is like you actually start to mime it out. This was something
Yeah.
that I used to go to like writing workshops. Like
Yeah.
there was once a year where like there was a Canadian writers and authors would come to Ottawa and like
yeah.
there's
We
like
had
this
one of
mini
those in
convention.
Toronto too.
Yeah. So I usually did illustrators because that was back when I was really into drawing.
Mhm.
But like this one author that I went to was like, act out what you do. And it didn't really
Yeah.
stick with me at the time. But nowadays it's like I find my writing flows better because I know how to properly describe the actions of like
Oh, yeah.
the main character. So
And I mean, what I was like, the thing I was trying to remember was this idea that I actually think I got from one of those writing conferences. And something this author said was the only thing your first draft has to do is exist.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to be good. It doesn't even have to be finished. Like, all it has to do is exist. And then once it exists and you can go from there. So writing tip, all your first draft has to do is exist. Just like, do it. Just get it done. Or at least put something down on paper. Make it exist.
like saying, and the other tip that was really important that you said earlier was like speak your dialogue.
Yes.
Because if you won't say it, though, there is also the whole thing that like there has to be a level of unrealistic dialogue. Because
Yeah.
like don't go like as you know, Bob, where somebody's just lecturing somebody what they probably already know for the sake of exposition. Try
Yeah.
to find a different way to do that. But
Yeah. And like every writer's craft or English teacher will parrot at you like, show, don't tell. It's like,
you don't always have to follow that rule.
no, you
Like
don't.
the rules of English exist to be broken,
Yes.
just so long as you
And-
can break them properly.
Yes. And if your style is like very, I'm going to tell you everything, you, the reader, everything, so that you have this dramatic irony that the characters don't, live your life.
Like just
Yeah. Just do it.
right.
Yeah.
You know,
All your first draft has to do is exist.
ignore everything we say too.
Yeah.
You don't have to follow.
We are not the be all end all of
We're-
writing advice. We are like we're barely advice. We're just two nerds talking about things we enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just advice from what I've learned from however many years of writing I've been doing now. How long ago is grade 2?
I don't know.
13
man.
years ago.
Sure. Who knows? Don't do the math. It'll just be
No,
upsetting.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Anyways,
So here's a fun little crossover between the
Okay.
two things we've been talking about.
what is this? A crossover episode?
Yes. No, this is the first episode of the podcast. It can't be a crossover yet. Anyways, homebrew campaigns in D&D. We talked about them very briefly. We touched on them. But the question I have for you is, because you don't do a ton of homebrew writing, right? When you DM?
No, when I DM, it's pretty much homebrew because
Okay.
modules are expensive.
Yeah, valid. So when you write for D&D,
Mhm.
how is it different? We've talked about this a little bit. Like, how is it different in terms of just actual ideas and world building and characters and story than when you're just writing for like a novel or a short story or a play?
I might have a different answer than what you're looking for here because
No, I'm
back
not
when
looking
I
for
was
any answer. I just want to know what you think.
back when I was DMing, I was also writing like a stereotypical fantasy world that I didn't really have like a unique direction. I'm glad I have the current idea anyways. But the essence of my answer is that there wasn't much difference because
Yeah,
world building for my writing was world building for my homebrew.
that's fair.
The key distinction is probably what you're world building because
Yeah,
what I found was some of where my players were going was different from where my novel writing was. So it allowed me to flesh out different points. And like, you have to have a pretty detailed world build to understand.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, you don't have to. I just prefer to have like a pretty detailed world building.
Yeah.
So it was really helpful. And like, maybe I'd be writing, I'm like, hey, this is a pretty good idea for the campaign for this place. So
yeah,
they fed off of each other. Where it was a feedback of like, okay, so this makes
Yeah.
sense in like the novel if I ever want to like go here. Because back then I also didn't really plan out my writing.
fair.
Like I had specific story beats that I want to hit.
Hmm.
It just wasn't like specific, you know?
Yeah,
Like I didn't have the whole overarching story. So it would be like, so the characters are doing this, what happens there and blah, blah, blah.
yeah,
Now it's a bit more structured where I have like, because my whole story is a heist. So you kind of have to have,
Yes.
there's like the
I love a
steps
good
to a
heist
heist.
story.
It's
Heist
great
stories are
actually
so
having
fun.
a structure.
Yeah,
Oh, I wouldn't say it's good. But
Hey, man.
now I'm doing like when I tried to get a campaign off the ground and like
Mhm.
it falling was completely my fault because I got caught up in like moving and stuff.
Yeah.
But I was trying to do a completely new world, and it's
Yeah.
really hard to do a completely new world.
It is.
Because like especially when you're trying to like throw your players into a new world,
Yeah.
then it's like, okay, what do they know? What do
Yeah.
I know as
Yeah.
the writer?
That's
Or,
that's an important question you need to ask yourself as a DM when you're making a homebrew. What do I know about this world?
Because like you're not gonna have the whole world. You're not.
No, that's just not possible.
As much as I'd like to joke about DMs being God, you
Yeah.
don't know every detail about your world. And like when your players ask like obscure history questions, like I don't know.
You have two answers. You have two options. You can either say I don't know, or you can improv the hell out of it. And those are your options.
It's definitely interesting to be world building as a DM
Mhm.
because especially in like a homebrew world where your players are like, hey, so I want to come from like this specific type of place, and you're like,
Yeah.
I don't have that kind of place. What can I do with this?
Yeah.
So your players can drive innovation instead of you just being on your own. And again, this
Yeah.
comes back to the idea of like the DM and the players creating this mutual story. Is
Yeah.
especially in the homebrew area, there's a lot more leeway for creating this story.
There's so much wiggle room.
But
Yep.
like that being said, there's also a lot of wiggle room when you're
Yeah.
using like pre-created world, because like we're in the Forgotten Realms for my big campaign, and like
Yeah.
I'm learning things for my character, and I'm running this through the DM. Like, hey, this could be a cool idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
So homebrew is definitely fun.
Homebrew is fun. My personal opinion.
Mhm.
I prefer homebrew
Yes.
over like any of the pre-made builds or modules or whatever.
Yeah.
I just find like, especially because it gives you so much, not always obviously, but a lot of the time it gives you so much more freedom with your character as well.
Mhm.
Like, because I find sometimes when you're playing pre-made builds, it's kind of like, okay, well, this is already like a thing. So what character can I make that fits into this thing?
Yeah.
Versus when you're starting a new campaign, like you came into my campaign a little differently, obviously, because you came in later.
Yeah.
But you knew a little bit about the world already, but not really the quest or the plot. I purposely kept that from you. And you still don't really know a lot about that. You'll find out about that a little more tomorrow. Yeah, exciting little teaser there. And so you made your character, and your character is like fun and creative, and he's now part of this campaign. But when I did session 0 with my party right at the beginning of this, I already had the world written. Like I had the world made, but I didn't have any of the like quests or anything plotted out. So I told them to make their characters, and from the character build they gave me, I figured out what kind of quest would suit their interests the best.
Mhm.
And this is probably the most homebrewy campaign I've ever run. Like the last long campaign was definitely an interesting one, which is with the group I took off your hands, our wonderful chaotic friends. Like we ran a one shot, and I think you knew this. I think I invited you to play, and you were like, "Nope, not right now."
I think at that time I was actually just busy.
Probably. I wouldn't have begrudged you if you were a little scarred as well. If our friends are listening to this, we love you. You guys are just chaotic as hell.
Let's waterboard the goblin.
Yeah. Oh, that's a whole story. I'm gonna have a couple people from that campaign on at some point to talk about that one shot. You maybe as well. Anyways, we were in a one shot, and from the one shot, which they all very much enjoyed, we decided to start this long campaign, and they liked the kind of universe of the one shot, and they want to continue this long campaign in the same universe with the same characters, with like a few different characters, but mostly the same, which is fine. Except I really didn't set up the universe for the one shot very well.
Yeah.
Because it's a one shot. And the whole point of one shots is like you set it up and then you're done with it.
Yeah.
I also ended up co-DMing that campaign, which was an interesting experience. Something that kind of became not necessarily an issue, but like a challenge, was balancing the kind of story we wanted to tell, and especially because my co-DM was the first time he was ever DMing, with the world we had set up for this one shot, that I had set up for this one shot, and the type of story our characters wanted to play. Because the thing with one shots is that they're not really meant to be expanded. They can be if you do the work from the beginning, but I did not. So when we tried to expand it, it ended up being being very narrow of a world. So it's like, here's your quest, and you do your quest, and then there's a couple other places you can go, but like mostly just do your quest and move on. And that's kind of what it ended up being, which I'm not very happy with. But that campaign's also over and done with, and my players still had fun, which is what's important. But with this particular homebrew, which you will discover, there's so much detail in this world. Like the episode that's coming out directly after this is Spencer, and I was talking to her a lot about that. I can't say much to you because it does involve details of this campaign you don't know yet, partially because Spencer's been a bit of a sounding board when I was creating the world. Every so often I'd come up with an idea and I'd be like, this seems fun, but what if that's just to me? I find the most funny D&D jokes in campaigns are the ones that are very character driven.
Yeah.
So something you will discover in this campaign, we have a character named Cabarink, who you've already met. Our friend Victoria is playing him, and he is a barbarian who is a gnome with a height complex. He wears 3-inch lifts in his shoes and a hat that is a foot tall. He is very funny. He is not very smart. If you say anything about his height in a bad way, he will hit you. And he is a barbarian. So it will hurt. In their very first session, I was playing an NPC, and I said something that was not meant to be a height insult, and that is how Cabarink chose to take it. And he cold clocked this NPC in the face so hard, not only did he get them in a bar fight, but he knocked this guy out in one go.
The running joke with my bard Caleigh is he's a drow, so there's already that kind of level of untrustworthiness. And like, I put him as part of a criminal cartel.
Yeah, fair.
Which, that'll heighten the untrustworthiness. I put him in very vibrant clothing, but he's very shifty. So everywhere he goes, just people do not like him. People in his party.
Yeah.
I mean, like, we're getting there. We're actually getting really good character progression. But right now we're trying to like defeat this demon. And we break into like this group of adventurers who previously dealt with this demon or like living under their whole quarters. So we did some breaking and entering, inspired by Cade, which got us in trouble with the law,
of course,
already. But we found a map. We went to the map's location, and there's a bunch of orcs. They want to kill me, and we're like, okay, whatever. We negotiated. We're like, hey, we don't kill Cade because he's being helpful. But we're getting to the point where like, okay, we need to recruit more orcs because we're running out of manpower, and we want there could be like more people coming through, so we don't want that to happen. So we're going down, and we're like, can we feasibly make sure that they don't kill Cade? And the one orc that's like leading us to his home is like, they sacrifice elves so they can gain the favor of the god. I'm like, oh. So you know that like Simpsons meme, like the kids on the bus. I'm in danger.
Yes,
that's just Cade's perpetual state at this point because everybody wants to kill me.
That's so funny. It's okay. I think the best DM meme is just the dog in the room that's on fire. It's like
this is fine.
This is fine, especially when you have chaotic groups. A later episode that I've already recorded with Joy, we're going to talk about playing with chaotic groups and what that's like. So look forward to that. Yeah, that's all the like questions, prompts I have for you today. Anything else you want to talk about? Yeah, I know. I mean,
I could say why I hate Druid as a class.
Sure, give us the like quick rundown of why you hate Druid as a class, and then I'll do my work in progress outro.
I'm glad you asked that question completely unprompted.
Yes, entirely unprompted.
Okay, so here's the thing. Druid is a spellcasting class.
Yes.
One of the main features of Druid is wild shape, in which you can turn into an animal, which is cool. However, in wild shape, you cannot spellcast until level 18.
And that is 2 levels away from the highest possible level for anybody who doesn't know. Yeah.
So for a spellcaster class, whose main ability, which would be like Barbarian's Rage, makes them unable to spellcast, it just seems counterintuitive.
It's a fair point.
What I kind of hypothesized was like early levels spellcasters run out of spells really fast. It sucks to play a spellcaster early. So like wild shape could be a feature to like cover the weakness of Druid being a spellcaster who
runs out of spell slots.
Yeah. However, that's not how it really plays.
No.
It's encouraged to wild shape.
Yeah.
So in the end it feels more like spellcasting is the backup plan. Or like when you get to later levels, you're doing really either or. Like you're either in wild shape for most of the combat or you're spellcasting for most of the combat. So one falls by the wayside. It kind of feels like you have to choose which path you want to go for druid, which could be a cool concept, except no other
Yeah.
class really has that concept of like
Yeah.
duality of a class.
Yeah.
Like,
not the same way, at least.
You have play styles for subclass, but
Yeah.
druid feels like it's beyond play style and more like two different classes.
Yeah. That's actually that's a really good point. You know what? Now I'm definitely gonna have an episode where you and Abby both come on and duke it out
about whether or not druid is a poorly designed class.
Yeah.
Like I've been proven wrong about thinking like classes are bad. I used to think ranger was a bad class, but then revised ranger.
You're playing a ranger.
Slaps the shit out of people. But like ranger also has the benefit of having really cool subclasses. And of course I haven't really looked into druid subclasses.
I haven't either, actually. It's a good question.
All I know is like Circle of Land is more focused. I think Circle of Land is the one that's more focused on magic, and Circle of the Moon is more focused on the wild shape. But like that just reinforces that like there's just two completely different playstyles. Like each subclass focuses on a specific side of druid. I think the only other class that I think is like also pretty poorly designed is warlock.
Yeah. Warlock
like
I'll agree with you on that. Warlock isn't the best designed.
Because you have like three like we talked about early spellcasters being pretty useless in combat.
Yeah.
Warlock takes that to an extreme where you have 2 spell slots and like then you're done.
It's
like Hawkeye from the Avengers. It's like I brought 250 arrows, but now I'm out, so I punched aliens.
So I guess I punch things or I go try and collect my arrows. Caveat, Hawkeye's a fun character, but also he's better in the comics.
If he's well written, yeah.
Yes, he's better in the comics than he is in the movies. Yeah. Feel free to at me about that. I will stand up with this point. Warlock is one of those things where it's like the most fun ways I've seen Warlock played is when it's used in multi-classing, specifically with like Sorcerer, or I've had some fun Bard Warlock multi-classes.
I kind of, with my plan for my character, I might multi-class into Bardlock.
Yeah.
There is also the problem with multi-classing with like, you see a lot of like Ranger Warlock multi-classing because they're just the strongest multi-class possible.
Yes.
Or I just said Ranger, I meant Rogue.
Yeah, like Rogue, Warlock, yeah.
And like both of those pair really well with Paladin.
Yeah.
So like you'll see like Hexadin where like max level you have like 15 levels in Paladin, you have 5 levels in Warlock, and then just Divine Smite crit, and you add like sneak attack.
You're just destroying
not sneak attack and Hexadin,
everything. But that's okay.
It's just like I really want to try like Hexadin at some point in like a level 20 one shot, but or
a
like
level 20 one shot could be arranged.
Like I also have a lot of fun playing Paladin. Like Paladin is the class that I've played most frequently, most of the time, because I just pick my character last.
Fair.
So it's like I usually fill in. It's like, oh, we need a tank. Paladin is a tank, but also can slap the shit out of people with Divine Smite. You have spell slots that you could use for healing. But you also have Lay on Hands, so why use it for healing when you could hit the shit out of people?
Yes, Paladin's a great class.
I love Paladin as a class so much. It was the first class I played. I played it really poorly, but God, did I have fun.
I actually don't. So I unfortunately haven't gotten a ton of chance to actually play D&D because I have mostly been DMing. But one of the few characters I have played was a Paladin, and it was very fun. I don't remember what the build was, but it was a funky Paladin. Because it was very homebrewed, like one-shot kind of campaign. I think it actually took 3 sessions to get through this one-shot, but...
Yeah. In the weird campaign that I was telling you about earlier, which like had really good DM, but really weird players.
Yeah.
It was really only like 2 weird players, but that's beside...
Still
I was playing,
a good chunk of the players.
I was going to abuse the Polar Master Sentinel build, which like most experienced DMs will ban, because basically it just makes it so that like nobody can pass you.
Yeah.
Like you just control the battlefield, which is really sick.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But like the combination's just broken. I can't remember like what really breaks it off the top of my head, but
I think there's a couple things.
Yeah.
Like it's just one of those things where it's like there's the moving parts just don't work together. And like that's the thing with D&D is that there are a lot of moving parts because it's not a hard game to play once you know what you're doing, but there are like lots of things to keep track of.
Yeah.
Also a lot more math than you think there's going to be, especially if you're a DM.
Little tip, DM tip. From what I've heard from people is counting up for health is a lot easier to keep track of than counting down, because apparently addition's easier than subtraction. I haven't actually tried the counting up. But
well, maybe I'll try that tomorrow.
Oh.
Who knows? You don't. I do.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on in your head. I can't mind read. that far.
I like that sometimes we both forget that this is a podcast, so we just make faces at each other for a second.
Yeah.
We both just made ridiculous eyebrow-based faces at each other for anybody who wants to try and visualize our shenanigans. Anyways, I feel like that's a good place to wrap up this episode.
Me venting about the imbalance of D&D and how Druid is poorly designed.
Yes.
That's not like a hill I'll die on if somebody's like, hey, yeah, Druid.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Druid can probably be fun.
Yeah.
It's just...
We'll find out. We'll have the
weird.
episode with you and Abby that's just Druid versus no Druid.
Not Druid.
Royale. Yeah, Druid and not Druid. Anyways,
Ranking
thanks
the classes.
for hanging out with me.
No worries. It's my pleasure.
Yeah,
Talking about
well,
D&D and nerd shit.
yeah, I mean, you have to come back, so I'm glad you had fun.
Yeah, I have to. Even if I didn't have fun, you're dragging me back kicking and screaming.
I mean, I'm not in Waterloo, so I could just like incessantly message you, but that's about it. Anyways.
Get other people to message me.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out with me.
No worries, no worries.
My slightly lame outro, which is still in progress. I don't think I actually have a solid outro for any of the episodes we've recorded so far.
I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, but feel free to go follow us on all our various platforms. Instagram and Twitter both exist. They're both at Disaster Masters Pod. We do have an email account for some reason. So if you feel... Stop laughing at me, Scott.
Okay, I'll mute.
If Scott's muted himself so he can laugh at me. So if you feel like sending us an email to tell us like questions, comments, concerns, or if you really liked a particular guest or want to say nice things about the DM team, it's just disastermasterspod@gmail.com. Feel free to contact us there. Other than that, thanks for hanging out with us. Stay
Or
cool,
if you think
people,
we're complete morons. Scott's
Yeah.
opinion about druids is completely stupid. If you think about proper building.
Or
you can-
send us mean emails about Scott. Don't do that. Scott's great, but
Specifically about Scott. Don't make fun of Caleigh.
yeah, feel
Caleig's
free.
opinions are flawless and well thought out.
Ooh, not a hill I'm gonna die on. Anyways, thanks for hanging out. Stay cool, people, and have fun. And now we're gonna go to credits.
Da, 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 da.
Yeah, we're done. But fun fact.
Amazing.
Yeah, so we're gonna have like legit theme music.
Automobiles lifted and flung through the air.
The Disaster Masters podcast is edited and produced by me, Caleigh Davies' niece. Our awesome original music was created by Noah Stolee. To check out more of his work, go look him up on Spotify or wherever else you get your music. An extra special thanks to today's cool person, Scott Russo, and we hope to see you next time.
Great trees whirled about like toothpicks. The creation of a partial vacuum within the vortex can cause...
I'm so excited to one day get hate mail about my opinion on druids. but then end credit scene is just me saying that.
Yeah. Honestly. No, I'm gonna keep